In the final stages of the Second World War, the Allied and Axis powers resorted to more elaborate strategies in an effort to conclude the intense conflict. The Americans, for instance, devised a strategy for invading Japan. In reaction to this proposed operation, the Japanese created various unconventional defenses. One such notable development was the kamikaze divers. Operation Downfall was the American strategy to invade and conquer Japan. It was set to unfold in two stages, Operations Olympic and Coronet, and, if executed, would have been a more extensive amphibious operation than D-Day. The plan was scheduled to commence in November 1945, following the conclusion of the European theater. Olympic, the initial phase, involved a massive amphibious attack on the Japanese island of Kyushu, which would be used as a launching point for subsequent forces during Coronet, the second phase. Coronet aimed to focus on the Tokyo Bay region, with an even more substantial force around March 1946. Yet, the intended invasion never took place as Japan surrendered following the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This averted the potential massive loss of life that both sides would have faced in such an invasion. Anticipating a possible Allied invasion, the Japanese devised the concept of Fukuryu attacks to counter such a threat, essentially meaning crouching dragon. These attacks would consist of kamikaze frogmen targeting approaching enemy vessels from beneath the water. As early as 1944, Captain Keiichi Shintani of the Yokosuka Naval Base Anti-Submarine School in Japan proposed this concept. Concerned about manpower and supply shortages, he realized that traditional defense methods might not be effective. Hence, he decided to adapt the use of swimmers who had previously succeeded in attacking Allied ships, notably around Fukuryu. These individuals would reside underwater at strategic locations along the Japanese coast, enabling them to surprise the enemy with explosive nighttime attacks. This not only ensured they remained unseen, but also reduced the likelihood of them being targeted. These kamikaze frogmen would come out from their hidden spots onto the seafloor wearing diving suits, carrying 16-foot-long bamboo spears with Type 5 attack mines attached to them. Each mine packed with a staggering 33 pounds of explosives that were set to detonate upon contact with the hull of a passing ship. Multiple mines were strategically placed near these underwater hideouts for easy access by the frogmen. Given the size of the explosives, the men trained for this mission weren't expected to survive if they succeeded. It was a one-way journey, and they were also committed to long, lonely hours as they waited for the enemy's approach. Nevertheless, significant efforts were undertaken to train 6,000 kamikaze frogmen for this mission, demanding a considerable amount of specialized gear. Each frogman required a complete diving suit, including a jacket, pants, shoes, and helmet, along with oxygen and liquid food to sustain them for approximately 10 hours underwater. They would also be weighed down at a depth of 16 to 23 feet by 20 pounds of lead. In addition to individual equipment, there was a necessity to establish concealed hideouts where these frogmen could await approaching enemy ships. They chose large concrete stations that would be constructed above ground and then sunk to their designated locations, although none were ever built. An earlier proposal suggested an underwater steel foxhole, but it was quickly scrapped when it became apparent that it reduced the effectiveness of nearby explosives. Despite evident and detailed planning by the Japanese to deploy kamikaze frogmen, they were never put into action. The 71st Arashi underwent training in Yokosuka, while the 81st Arashi received training in Kure. Another unit was in the works in Sasebo. However, by the time Japan surrendered, only 2 battalions were fully trained, both within the 71st. This amounted to approximately 1,200 frogmen out of the planned 6,000. Not only was training lagging, but production also faced challenges. Only 1,000 diving suits were ready at the time of surrender, and none of the actual mines were built, only dummy ones. Despite never seeing combat, many Fukuryu trainees lost their lives during training. Most of these fatalities resulted from issues with the breathing apparatuses in the diving suits. The apparatuses were basic, requiring each diver to inhale through their nose and exhale through their mouth into a tank, which would convert carbon monoxide back into oxygen. Mixing up the breathing process could lead to inhaling caustic lye, causing the divers to faint underwater. If seawater entered the tanks, it created a mixture that, when inhaled, burned the lungs. Some divers perished when entangled in ocean floor plant life, unable to free themselves. In the end, no enemy combatants fell victim to Fukuryu attacks, but the toll on trainees was so high that they couldn't keep up with cremation. Thanks for watching. Put a like and subscribe us for more interesting videos like this.